Good morning, folks. Thanks for joining us today. For the seasoned visitors, you understand we signed in a little bit earlier than our exact starting time of 8 o'clock because we want to share some of our background efforts with you also. So today what we're talking about, first off, for those who are seeing us repeatedly, thank you very much for joining back with us. For those who are seeing us for the first time, we hope we can provide enough value for you that you will want to come back again. There are three ways you can visit us. You can visit us through LinkedIn, YouTube, or Facebook. Please remember to sign in to each of those, certainly for YouTube, because we forget sometimes, to leave comment. We really want your feedback, and more importantly, I need your help in terms of trying to understand this ambiance, the difference between myself and Lizzy Gabor. She's getting on momentarily, I hope. And I say that we don't rehearse this, we don't pre-record it. This is all live going on. So all the little glitches that might happen, you are a part of the journey. And we do that deliberately because people sometimes feel like let me phrase that, to quote Lizzy in part, that mindfulness can lead to or help produce better health, better value, better success. And I hear the words, but I'm a left brain kind of guy. And I want the facts, I want the details, I want to know how it happens as it happens. So we're having this dialogue ongoing in terms of whether mindfulness works or not for us. And I hope she shows up yet. She's not yet come here, but we'll find out where that goes. But for those who are listening for the moment, to say this differently about myself, I pride myself of being like a Dr. Spock, a cyborg syndrome. It's Dr. Spock out of Star Trek. And my left brain, 99.9% logic and reasoning. Now, there are people who know me who might say, well, Joe, we think it's more like 30 or 40% crazy id syndrome, but we can debate that for a later day. But my wife, I'll use her as an example, that she loves when I come into, say, a Sunday morning, she's watching TV into the room, and I hear this soft tingling of cymbals and bells, and I walk into the vision of the camera, and I see the candle lights kind of dancing back and forth, and I see the white sheer curtains, and I see the guy with the white beard and the white hair and the white gown, and he's talking in a soft voice, and how we're going to make you a better person. I'm sorry, I'm just not buying it. She loves it. I respect her. I don't argue it with her. Me, I gotta leave the room because it's just not relating to me. However, that's my emotional side. I do understand that there are people, by testimonial, by observation, that yes, to be aware, there's this popular phrase now, emotional quotient, as opposed to intelligent quotient. And that reflects a sense of awareness of yourself, of your environment. And because of that awareness, you're able to be better grounded, better functional, better productive, and healthier and happier at the whole time. So I kind of get the philosophy of that, but the challenge I have as I listen to these types of people, they kind of make it sound like, well, you just have to find yourself. And I'm saying, whoa, you're making it sound like you just turn a light switch on, that just walk in a dark room, first time around, my eyes are closed, I can't see anything, and reach my hand out and the light switch comes on. So I have two challenges here that I have to struggle with. One, how does this work? And then more importantly, how does one get involved with it? Now, to say this differently, and I'm going to take a little break, excuse me here. Good. I was looking to see if Lizzy had signed in yet, or if she's looking for help. So I'm looking at my other computer. That's why I'm looking off to the side, because I do want to bring her on, and maybe she can begin to answer some of these questions for me. But that being said, my challenge is, how does one who might have interest, more importantly have need, interest or not, get involved in a different direction that's going to be more meaningful for themselves, the world, their future? Now, I'm going to use an analogy. I get the impression it's getting hot outside for those in the Northeast, not quite there yet. For those who are in the South and the Southwest, it's heat. But that being said, we're still waiting for those first hot days in a row. The pools are open as of Memorial Day, so that's an issue. The beaches are open again. And there are people, don't care if you're a guy or a girl, on the deep end diving board, you hear somebody shout out invariably, "Cannonball!" And you look up and the person's got their legs tucked up and they are smacking into the water. And anybody within a 20-foot radius will get overwashed with water. I get that. Summer, hot, let's do it. Let's make it happen. Get the full energy of it. Well, I'm on the shallow end, the 3.5-foot side with the 7-year-olds and 8-year-olds dipping my toe in the water. Even though it's 98 degrees, the water feels cold. I'm not used to it. And it really is a big toe, little toe, ankle, lower leg, upper leg. It's a process for me to work into, and I know once I'm in, I am going to feel good. But even though that's in my head, my body's saying, no, let's kind of work through this. So what I'm, with Lizzy's help perhaps, I may convert or not, or figure it out or not, trying to work through it. And so what Lizzy and I are doing as a method of interaction here is I'm asking her to explain to me, a non-believer of sorts, why it would make sense to me, why it should make sense to me, and then making sense to me how I might go about implementing it or becoming a part of it. And I understand there's no utopia. I understand likely there'll be people who will never, ever, ever get even to where I am of trying to figure this out, maybe. But I do believe, and I read books, and I respect the opinion of people I consider to be experts in their field. I do believe people who advocate this is a critically important part of our lives. And there are people I've noted who are unhappy because they're forever confused. They forever feel lost. Maybe they're overwhelmed with ever anger or a sense of non-purpose, no options. I could go on with that list. And I think it's easy to talk about, well, you need to do these 5 things to be a better person, I guess. But to me, it's an art form. Is how would somebody like a Lizzy provide an environment that people will want to respond and move in a direction that helps add to. There's no utopia, either direction. Left brain stuff, no, in itself doesn't quite make it, because if you're not aware of the people around you, certainly in a leadership role, in a value providing concept, you're not aware of the needs of the people that you're interacting with, you're not going to be an effective leader. You're not going to be a good provider of product or service to the market you'd like to be a part of. Because if you don't understand what their needs are, what their wants are, even if you're pure left brain, nobody exists, I think, that unless it's a computer, perhaps. And the irony of it is you're trying to not teach computers emotion. So we want to be computer-like, but the moment we get computer-like stuff, we want to switch it back again. Anyway, it's in our human nature that the emotional side, the I'll say touchy-feely thing, is an important part of our lives. And I think people, I was watching a movie one time, to say this differently, and this is a young man, when I say young, maybe early 30s, had built an industry in his own right, worldwide, multi-million-dollar, maybe billion-dollar syndrome. And it was, even though it was a movie, it was still based, I'm sure, in reality of a lot of people out there. And they asked this guy, how have you managed to be so successful so quickly, as he's walking out of the building to his limousine. And he paused, and without even hesitating, he looked up and he says, well, I know how to give people what they want. And I think that's an important concept, because for business, for life, I say business is life in part. Somebody asked me the other day, well, Joe, do you talk to businesses or do you talk to people? I don't make a distinction. The owner of a company still, I think, is a human being. And for those who invest seriously in the market, we understand that the stock of a company, one person, will rise and fall on the current incoming or outgoing CEO, perhaps. And that company could be 30,000 plus employees. It could be worldwide distribution. It could provide top-rate merchandise or provide great service. But The market value is based on that particular one person. I call that person the avatar of their business, their company. And everybody falls into that. Even if you work for somebody else representing that product or concept to the public, you still are the first thing people see when you walk up to them. Either that or your shiny shoes. People can debate what's the first thing that's noticed about your persona. But the point is, you add that avatar, and people will make an immediate decision, right or wrong, based on their initial impression. And it really is hard to work away from that. I've heard, I've read, I've found out to be. So it's important to be sensitive to your environment around you. And we're back to that emotional quotient kind of thing. We're back to that awareness kind of thing. We're back to that mindfulness kind of thing. Where Lizzy and I are very similar, is that my role is to help people find their secret sauce. And the concept there, like, what do you mean by that? Well, I use an example, and then we'll kind of come back to this format of myself and Lizzy. That let's take hamburger, the two biggest hamburger chains in the world. And one makes its notoriety, besides being first, is we make a double dip French fry that's twice broiled and not broiled, but fried, whatever it may be. I'm not a connoisseur in French fries. But they take claim as a world-class French fry maker besides their hamburger, and articles have expressed that in a very enthusiastic, convincing manner. Where the competitor, realizing they can't follow that same path and expect to be viable, is they'll say, well, we broil our burgers, we grill them, because we want it to have substance, we want it to have character. We don't want it to look like it's been steamed for 2.5 hours, kind of soggy, mismatched stuff. I'm not saying that's what it is, but I think that's part of the distinction, because the other company realized they had to have their own secret sauce approach. And by the way, the secret sauce for me is I get to do free soda refills on that second company. That's what works, that draws me. So these two companies, these two hamburger companies coexist, not because they're nice people and it's a kumbaya spirit. It's because the market they've defined, the secret sauce they've created to draw that market, doesn't cross the path over on a regular basis. I like the free soda refills and the grilled burger. I love them French fries. And I think it's a sense that the big companies have that many smaller individuals, companies, and solopreneurs don't quite yet understand. That we talk about defining our LDO market, but we don't yet understand presenting our secret sauce to attract that ideal market. And there'll be more things coming up on this down the road. But anyway, my role with Lizzy, so I don't think we're really far apart, that we're both working on ourselves, which, in my instance, what's your secret sauce? Many of us don't know that. Whereas Lizzy, her focus is, having found your secret sauce, let's implement it. Let's use it to make it work for us. So we're likely talking different sides of the same coin. We just don't know it yet. It's funny, there's a fable where you have blind men and women in a room, and they all claim to have the hands-on truth, and which happens to be in the room at that moment. And one person, but there's disagreement, of course, between these different modalities of people knowing truth because they have touched it, their hands are on it. But one is describing it as a tree because it's a thick bark, it's rough, it's gnarled, it's sturdy. The other one's saying, no, truth is a snake. It's pliable, it's thin, it's malleable. The third person is saying, no, truth is like a wall. It's broad, it's expansive. But what they don't understand is they're each feeling the different parts of an elephant. And what they're saying is accurate, but they don't, they see different aspects of that truth concept, explaining different aspects of the same thing. And I think that's more true in life than not. So anyway, for those who visit us, sorry that my cohort, Lizzy, couldn't show up today. It happens sometimes. And by the way, that's in business. Things happen. And we decide to move on. That's critically important. Never, ever give up on yourself. and discover your true value, whether you do it the Joe Wesley way or the Lizzy way. And we'll talk more about that next week at the same time, same day of the week, barring holidays. And discover your secret sauce and become aware of mindfulness value about yourself and use it in a meaningful manner to make yourself better, your family better, healthier, better. If you're healthier, you're better. Same thing of sorts. Help your business thrive because you have a greater awareness of your environment. Thank you for joining us. Please leave your comments, good, bad, or indifferent. If you do it after the fact on the replay, we do audit those statements. Again, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. We will get back to you. And if you have suggestions or questions for our next dialogue, even if it's solo version, please share it back to us. I'm Joe Wesley of the Joe Wesley, Lizzy Gabor dialogue. Thanks again. Stay healthy. Have a great weekend.